Welcome to the Burn Factory Podcast with Priest and Phoenix Rivera. Listen as the boys interview the biggest names in sports and entertainment. The Burn Factory starts now.
Welcome back to another episode of the Burn Factory Podcast. What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Burn Factory Podcast. I'm your host, Priest, joined by my co-host, my brother, the one and only Phoenix.
What's up, y'all?
This is called the Burn Factory for a reason. I was literally caught on fire. 50% chance to live. But through that, I started this podcast because I believe every single person out there on this planet has a burn moment somewhere in their life.
You heard Priest say burn moment. So a burn moment is a super hard time in someone's life that they had to ultimately get through to be where they are today. And me and Priest believe that people go through these burn moments every single day and it builds them to who they are today. But Priest, what a guest we have today. Man, I am so excited. Our guest has started doing judo when he was 6 years old. He has won 2 gold medals at the Pan American Games. He has won a gold and 7 other medals at the Pan American Championships. He's a 9-time IJF Grand Prix medalist, which includes 3 gold medals. He's also won a gold at the World Masters and is the first male ever to make 2 semifinals in Olympic judo history and is one of the most decorated judokas of all time.
So please give a welcome to Travis Stevens.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on.
Here.
So
Yeah.
you did judo since the age of 6. You didn't do football, hockey, nothing?
Nope, I did other sports as a kid. Judo was always that sport that was after the sport because I would do soccer, baseball from like 4 to 5, and judo was always at night, like 7 to 9. So it was always back-to-back sports.
Okay.
And judo was year-round.
You always knew you wanted to do it, though?
No.
No.
So my whole like burn thing starts right at the beginning. Super at the beginning. So when I was 11, I was getting ready for the nationals and I was on my way to like 2004 Olympics, 2008 Olympics, like on that path. And then we were playing a game getting ready for the nationals. And between the ages of like 7 to 11, I lost less than 10 times.
Really?
Yeah. Older divisions, younger divisions, same weight, bigger weights, didn't matter. Like winning was like drove me. And then we were playing a game, blew my leg out completely. My foot got put on my hip. Guy's shoulder went straight through my kneecap. Cut everything. I spent 6 months in a brace. No sports from 11 to 15.
Was this just like rondoi or something?
Nope,
Or what
we
was
were
it?
playing a game.
Just a game?
Just a game.
Wow.
It was like sumo, but there was like 8 of us, and we had this giant circle, not a little one, a giant one. All you had to do was push the people out. Kid went to shoot a double, got pushed from behind, shoulder went right through my knee.
How long were you out for?
4 years, no sports.
4 years.
Yep.
Oh, jeez. Why so long?
Nothing. I had to learn how to walk again. I lost everything.
That's a little burn moment right there.
Yeah, just right off the rip.
Oh, my.
No more sports. I went from a total athletic kid to nothing.
Wow. How like mentally challenging was it coming back? I mean, being off 4 years, like were you like kind of like babying it or like, oh, like I can't hurt it again? Or were you full
I turned
go?
into like an angry child. Like my parents were like, we're going to have to send you to military school because I would do nothing but act out. I had zero outlet. I was an athletic kid, always out running around, playing, climbing trees to can't do nothing.
How hard was that mentally?
You know, I don't know. I was so young. All I remember is acting out, getting into trouble all the time. All the time. All I did was get into trouble.
What'd you do?
Anything from like coming up with ways to like break the neighbor's window and not get caught to like, you know, making fun of like the neighbors, you know, just roughhousing, anything that like could get me attention, I guess.
So did your parents put you into judo because of that? Or was
I
it
got
just...
taken out of judo because of it.
Really?
Yeah. All sports. Everything.
Wow.
I didn't come back to sports until my sophomore year of high school. That was my first time.
What was
Freshman year, second semester. When I came back to tennis.
Oh, okay. I was tennis
Yep. And then blew my knee out.
Again?
First sport. Had surgery.
on the
freshman
same
year.
knee.
Same knee.
How old were you?
freshman in high school.
So like 15. This
yeah,
so this is
14.
right after your knee or your other knee.
Yeah, same knee.
Oh, same knee.
Same knee.
Oh my.
First time
God.
coming back to sports, halfway through the season, boom, knee gone.
What happened? Did you just plant run and just?
Yep. I was running and I reached too far out with my leg and my knee locked and my whole leg hit. My 2 bones hit, boom, tore my meniscus. I had to get my knee scoped.
Oh my.
So after like 2 gruesome knee, like was there even talks of you ever doing sports again?
Yeah.
So they were always like, you're fine.
Once I had the surgery and the doctor like cleaned up all the scar tissue, because when I was a kid, I let it sit there for 4 years. Nowadays in like sports medicine, people wouldn't do that, right? They'd be like, okay, you have to actively recover. People walk out of the doctors in hip surgeries now, right? I tore my pec and I was even just recently just had surgery on my shoulder. So like now doctors are a little bit more like, you know, proactive with the healing process instead of like let it sit for 6 months. I had to let it sit for years because I had growth plate issues and like other things. All that scar tissue got torn in that one moment. So when the doctor got in there, he cleaned it all up, stitched it back up. 2 weeks later, I was good as new.
Your poor body. Oh my gosh. How many surgeries do you think you've had?
Not that many. I've been fortunate. I've had some like crazy injuries over the years, but only a few surgeries.
Okay, that's good.
Only a few.
Wow. So you're actually kind of leading us into our first letter. So we use an acronym on this show, BURN. So each letter is a different time in your life. So B stands for beginning. You talked about the injuries as a child, but what were some other burn moments that you had to go through that got you to winning all these gold medals and into the Olympics?
That's tough, man. There's been a few. I mean, probably my most hectic time was 2015, the year before the Rio Olympics. I spent the whole year injured. I got a massive concussion. Like, couldn't remember what I ate for lunch. Couldn't remember what I had for breakfast. Couldn't remember the day before for like months. I was like in la la land. And then even when I tried to come back, I would like, my heart would start to race and then the room would just spin and then I would just fall over.
Did you get thrown on your head?
I actually threw the other guy.
Oh.
So I threw the other guy so hard that his shoulder dislocated and then my head hit the mat. And then I hit the mat so hard, I just knocked myself into, tomorrow.
So you didn't remember any moments before that?
Nothing. And I got hit so hard that the girl I was dating, who's now my wife, I forgot who she was. I was at the tournament and I was sitting there and they found me in a corner of the venue, rocking, whistling to myself. I was like, woo, woo, in the corner. And then I woke up and I was like, whoa, where am I, right? And I see this girl over in the corner and she's looking at me and she's giving me like the dirtiest look. Like, and I'm like, what's wrong with her? What's wrong with her? So I go to the manager and I'm like, hey, who's that girl, man? She's looking at me like I killed our dog. Like, what's going on? Had no recollection. It took me probably 24 hours before I could like place her and who she was. But I missed like entire chunks of like us dating. It eventually started to come back, but there's still moments and like chunks where like it's just forgotten.
That's so scary.
Wow.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
How long did that last? The entire year leading up?
No, that happened in February and I didn't come back until June, almost July.
Wow.
So we're going on like 4, almost 5 months.
This was before the games?
Yeah, 2015.
2015.
So
Where
it was
was
the year before.
Yeah, a year before.
And where was the Olympic Games at that following year?
2016 in August, end of July, August.
Yeah.
Okay, like what location?
Rio.
Rio.
yeah.
Okay, it was Rio.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Did you think you were gonna go and compete again, or did you
I
think
tried.
you tried?
Yep. I went from one of the top 5 players in the world to 0-5 in my next 5 events.
Coming off of the
Coming off the concussion. Lost every time.
wow. Was that mentally challenging? Like, man, I'm like the top
I
judokas
actually-
in the country and
I
I'm
actually
losing.
sent a letter to the coaches and the staff and I was like, F it. I'm off the team.
You're done.
I'm done. And they were like, whoa. Hold on a second. Let's not overreact. And I was like, nope, that's it. I'm fucking done. I'm not quitting judo. But whatever you guys are doing, I ain't following it. I'm done. And then we actually sat down and had a conversation. And I was like, I don't care where I go, but I'm going by myself to where nobody really knows who I am. And I'm just going to exist. And then I'll figure it out. So I ended up going to a college called Tokai, which is one of the #1 universities in the world. And all they do is fight. That's it. You show up, you do 15 rounds of 5 minutes, you go home, you wake up the next day, and you do it all over again.
Where is this at?
In Japan.
In Japan, okay.
So couldn't talk to anybody. No one could talk to me. All we could do was fight. And I was like, okay, here we go. I'm going to spend the next 3.5 weeks, and then no one's going to email me. No one's going to talk to me. No one's going to ask me how I'm doing. I'm just going to figure it out. And then the day before we get on the plane, I break my thumb in half.
Oh.
Snapped straight off.
Coming home, the flight coming back?
Going there.
Or going there.
Going there.
Oh my God.
Snapped it in half.
What happened?
So I have this weird rest position, which is a little different than most people. And I kind of like sit and I lay down with my hands just like relaxed. So my thumb kind of like dangles out. And so I was trying to rest and I was laying there and a guy from like over there came down, boom.
Oh, landed right on it.
Took it right off, knocked it straight down. And then it just dangled there.
Did it hurt? Did it hurt, or did you?
Yeah.
No, it felt good.
The whole thing swelled up. I went to the doctor's the next morning before I got on the flight, and they made me like a custom molded like sleeve that like Velcroed around, and then I would take it off. I taped it when I was in Japan, and I fought with one hand for like 3 weeks. And then when I got out, I put the thing back on, I taped it back up, and I went back to my room and cried.
Couldn't that put it at like a risk of even more
the Olympics
damage?
are in less than a year.
Got to
You
do
didn't
whatever
care.
it takes.
Didn't matter.
You didn't care. So you were there for 3 weeks, and then you come back. And as soon as you came back, what was that time kind of like?
When I came back 3 weeks from that,
Yeah.
won Pan Am Games.
Oh, you won it?
Won it.
Wow.
So I went from 0-5 to Pan Am Games gold medal.
Wow.
Burn
3
moment.
weeks in Japan.
That's another burn moment right there.
And then it didn't end there. My year wasn't over. I turned right around from Pan Am's, almost had my leg chopped off. Yep.
Oh my God. So you had your head, then you had your thumb, then you had your leg,
Yep.
all in 1 year.
Not done there.
I had oh my God.
So I got 3 bacterial infections, like staph infections in my leg, 3 different kinds at one time. My whole leg swelled up. And at the time, we didn't know what it was. I went to the hospital. I went everywhere. And they were like, you have bursitis in your knee. And I was like, okay. But my whole leg was like twice the size of my other leg. So when we got on the plane, I wrapped it with an ace bandage. And then to like prevent the swelling because it was hurting. Went to the Worlds, ended up shooting like Novocaine into my back to like help deal with the pain, like a nerve block almost. Ended up losing in the second round. Got choked for the first time in my career. Embarrassed. Whole U.S. team got slaughtered. Came back and I'm laying in bed and I'm waking up in like massive amounts of puddle of sweat. Like massive. Like you have to clean the sheets every time I fall asleep. And come to find out, my heart is beating at like 160 beats a minute in my sleep. Which is like I'm running like a marathon, like I'm having trouble keeping weight on. And so my girlfriend, now my wife at the time, is like, we're taking you to the hospital. And I'm like, nah, I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. She's like, nope, we're going to the hospital. Go to the hospital. I'm in the ER and the ER doctor comes in and they're like, hey, whoever you have to call, but you may lose your leg today. And then she left. And I was like, what am I supposed to do with that information? Who leaves after making that statement? They rushed me up into a special room upstairs for like bacterial infections. I spend the next 7 days in a hospital. They pump like 300 cc's of like orange pussy goo out of my leg. And then I'm in surgery like 10 days after that. I spend 2 months in in-home care with PICC lines running through my body. And then now we're into like September.
What was that burning moment? Like, you're like, I'm not going to let this overcome me.
It wasn't then. At that point, I was like, you know what? Like, I can make it through this. Like, there's still time. I remember looking at the surgeon going, just cut my leg today. Because every day you wait is a day I don't have to train and get ready for the Olympics. So the longer I wait, the harder it is to come back.
So you were mentally ready to
I
just
was
chop
like,
it off and
right now. I
and
was like,
compete as a Paralympic?
yep. I was like, No, like my neck. So what they did is they cut a massive thing and they took a scalpel and they cut all the infection out through my bone. Oh, okay. All my muscle, everything through my leg. And that was the plan, was like, we're just going to cut it out. But the doctor didn't want to have the surgery until after he knew what it was. And I was like, why wait? Just cut it out. Be done with it. Because every day you wait, I can't train for the Olympics. And then when I came back, my body was so fragile that I ran like 30 feet. My heartbeat was 202 beats a minute because all the medicine and bacteria and everything, my whole body was like flipped upside down. I couldn't run very far without like hyperventilating in like panic. It was like I don't even know if I can train again, like really like get back to like full strength. And so I spend 2 weeks like really making a conscious effort to like, I don't care how I feel, but my body has to be pushed and like almost like sweat it out, like get back to normal. And in that moment, I come in for a throw with a guy, I pop my SI joint, just straight out, done. And the SI joint is where your spine meets your tailbone. Yeah, and what happened was my shoulders went one way, my hips went the other, and just boom, and it got stuck. And I was supposed to go to China. Like, and I remember laying in bed, and my coach, who I didn't tell I wasn't going, because I was like, I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm going to go make weight. I'm going to get through this. Because my number one rule is make weight and fight. If you don't even step on the mat, you can't win. So whatever I do, I just have to make sure I can step on the mat. If I can do that, I think I can win. I just need to be able to get there. So I'm just telling myself I'm going to get there. I go to the gym. I try to ride the bike. Can't happen. I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sit in the sauna, and I'm going to put my back on the wood because the heat's going to help, right? So I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, oh, I can't sit. I'm like, I'm just going to sleep this off. I'll deal with it when I get to China. I lay down in my bed. I wake up. I can't lift my legs. I can't do a sit-up. I can't do anything. I'm like stuck. My core can't flex, nothing. And I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I call my coach, who's at the airport right now at like 5 o'clock in the morning, waiting for me, the only guy he's got a coach, to go to China. And I'm like, I'm not making it. I can't get out of bed. And he's like, well, now I got to go all the way to China to coach these other players in the United States now that you're not going. Thanks for that. Hangs up the phone on me, goes to China. I go to the therapist the next day. He pops my SI joint back in place. I spend 2 weeks doing therapy. I go to Japan, which is one of the toughest tournaments in the world, take 5th. And that was my like, I'm going to win the Olympics. Wow. I knew right then and there. Because on no training, I can take 5th. Fighting the best guys in the world.
You've got to have like the highest pain tolerance I've ever met before to go through all of that.
Do you even feel pain right now anymore?
Yeah, a lot. A lot.
Oh my gosh. You need to go.
That was just 1 year.
How come you don't do any ice baths or nothing? Do you do that?
I hate the cold. I hate it with a passion. I would rather be in pain than do an ice bath.
Really?
I hate it.
Okay,
That's
so we have a cold plunge here, and we do
Not
it every
doing
single
it.
day. You'll never
Not doing
get
it.
Really.
Not doing it.
So you can fight on torn whatevers, but you can't sit in an ice bath.
The only time I do ice baths is when I find the actual like massive tub. Like when you go to
the steel ones.
No, like when you go to Turkey and you get in like an ice bath, like a Turkish bath, the tub is like the size of this room. It's like a 20 foot by 20 foot that's like 6 feet deep of like ice water. So like you don't have to like inch your way into it. It's not like you put your foot in it, then your leg, then your hips, and like sit. It's like here we go. And then you just jump in the middle, and then you have to get back to the end. But by the time you get back to the end, your body's like acclimated to it. So then you can kind of like float around in it. That's the only time I'll do it. If I have to walk into it, it ain't happening.
You ain't do nothing?
Not happening.
Really?
What would it take you to go do the cold plunge outside?
Not happening. Not happening.
Nothing?
Not happening.
No. If someone offered you like $100 to do it, you wouldn't
Not
do it?
happening.
1,000?
Not happening.
100,000?
You'd be into the millions.
Really?
It's not worth my discomfort. Not happening.
That's crazy coming from someone who's in Massachusetts and it's cold all the time. And
I make my athletes do it. I don't do it. I won't do it. They're out there with the sledgehammer, breaking it in the winter, like getting it in their underwear in the middle of the snow. Like, not me.
How cold do you think it is? And over there in those ice baths?
Same as here. Ice is ice.
Like 32.
Yeah.
Interesting. Ours is what is the cold plunge?
Probably like in between 32 and 37 degrees.
Ah.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely not happening.
Really? I don't know. It's weird for me. Like I don't like so we golf and like I don't really do it for like a physical thing, but my mental clarity after it's like it's crazy. Like I'm sharp. I'm just like boom, 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 boom.
It makes you alert.
Yeah, it really does make you alert, and that's honestly what I do it for. It's almost like this kind of like high you get. Like
That's why I got coffee.
well, I have coffee and the ice sponge now too, so I got double of what you got now. But all right, so going back to that time leading up to the 2016 games. So after that injury, what was that time kind of like? Were you just like full throttle, like all these injuries are in the past, like it's just I'm focusing on that?
I just knew I was going to win. Because once that happened, you go into this like state of there's like a mental side of like you can't believe in what you know, right? When you believe something, it means you're unsure, like you're hoping. I didn't believe it anymore. Like I knew it. Like no matter what, like I was making the Olympics and I was winning. It wasn't a question anymore in my mind. So like my whole thought, the training, the execution, like I couldn't be brought off that pedestal because it didn't matter what happened. Even when I went to Germany in February, right after Japan, I lost in like the second round and I had one of my worst performances. And Germany is like my event. Like I win Germany. And when I lost in the second round, I lost very poorly, but it didn't change the idea that like I'm winning. It's okay that I'm losing. Don't even mind, because my sight was already on the aftermath of like winning Rio. So I couldn't even be derailed mentally from winning that tournament.
Wow. Talk about mental strength. Like that's crazy.
I need that whenever I go into a golf tournament right there. I need to find that burn moment, whether it's playing a terrible round, because if I do play a terrible round, I know the next round I'm going to go out there and play the best I can. But that's crazy that Japan tournament gave you a certain type of confidence.
Yeah.
And
there's just a difference in knowing.
What was that? What was the tournament that you won after Japan? Or did you win a tournament after Japan?
Not until World Masters.
Okay.
I lost every other time.
How hard is the World Masters to win?
World Masters is top 16 in the world are the only people who are allowed to go. And if one of the top 16 doesn't show up, it goes to top 17, then top 18, and then on its way down until you get a full 16 roster.
Wow.
Okay.
So it's the best of the best. And I actually went into World Masters not planning on winning it and didn't think I could. Because the idea was World Masters was not a tournament we were prepping for. World Masters was a tournament we were training through, and we were trying to gain experience to build our playbook for the Olympics. It just so happens that I won the tournament while building my playbook.
Man.
Did that winning that tournament, did it give you a whole another confidence on top of what you already had going into that tournament?
Yeah, because I knew that like the 1, 2, and 3 weren't at the tournament, but 5 through like the rest were. So when you go to the Olympics, it's seeded. So I was 5 or 6 going into Rio, so I knew I wasn't going to fight the other guys until the semis. So the draw now didn't matter to me because I was going to beat anybody in that draw up until the time when it mattered.
No.
Speaking of Olympics, how hard is it to win in the first round?
That's probably one of the most difficult rounds to win.
Really?
Yeah, is the first one.
Huh.
Why is it so difficult?
So the Olympics for judo is different than most sports, right? Because most sports in the Olympics are time-based or your performance-based. But for us, we actually have somebody preventing us from getting to the next round where they can physically grab you, like wrestling. So you're stuck into two scenarios, right? You're either a seeded athlete that's not going to fight another seeded athlete, which means that you're kind of in this limbo of, do I get somebody that's completely off the wall? Because the Olympics give wild cards. So random players from around the world can get a wild card, which is like the IJF saying, you get to go for some reason or another. And then there's people that don't directly qualify, but they're the next in line. And every country gets a next in line participant, and they can land in there. So what happens is you could get a world champion first round who's not seeded, because he may not be top 5 in the world if he suffered an injury like I did, where I didn't get that many points in 2015. So my ranking kind of started to drop. And then I was able to bring it back up because of the World Masters win. But for the ones that skipped it or didn't go, they fall below the seed. So you could just end up that way.
So
and it gets nervous. Then you have the other side where it's like you have a random Joe that you should beat, right? But when he knows he's going to lose and he's at the Olympics, he throws the kitchen sink at you.
Yeah.
And if you don't do well, that messes with people's like mental, like, I'm not prepped right, I'm too tired, that should have been easy, it was difficult, and it kind of sets the tone for your day. So mentally that is really difficult. You see a lot of like European champions, world champions go out in the first round all the time.
How many matches are in a day?
5.
5?
5.
So you fight almost the entire tournament in one day?
In one day.
Wow.
How many rounds are there, or matches?
Throughout the whole tournament?
Yeah.
It's a round of 32, somewhere between 24 and 26. So you figure 32, 18, plus that. Probably around like 40 matches for men. Probably a little bit less than that for women.
Oh my gosh. How are you not like mentally fatigued already going into like the semis or the...
Well, and that's where a lot of people really... No, same day.
Oh, this is the same day too?
Day.
Really?
Yeah. And that's where people really struggle, is because they don't know how to do it. And if you don't actually compete and win internationally, your flow of your day, you don't know what to do. And some people that don't train that or get that experience, they struggle. So you'll see a lot of people make like semis, take a break, and then they don't know how to like re-prep for a semi or a final, and they'll just finish 5th all the time.
Wow. It's actually funny. So growing up, I did judo too. And I was probably like 8 or 9 at the time, and we were at nationals in Atlanta, Georgia. And I remember I literally had to fight like 5 times that day. Yep. And so I'm going through the draw, and my dad and Ed Liddy, who you probably know, were my coaches. And they're like, man, he's going to be a national champion. Like, he's got it. I kind of go through everyone, and then I didn't know how to fight again, like for the final time, for the 5th time today, and I was just so done. Yeah. I literally just like went up, and I literally just fell down and like threw up my leg like this, and it's just done. And I literally got pinned by a kid that I e-pawned in like my very first round. I fought him. Yep. But it's just so mentally like fatiguing. You're just like, I'm done. But well, I could have been a national champion if I would have sucked it up. But I ended up getting 3rd, I think, which was still
some
cool.
people just don't know how to make that turn off and then turn it back on like a few hours later. And everyone's different. So, you know, a lot of like people coming up through the ranks do is they do what like the older athletes do instead of doing what they need to do, because everyone's a little different. Yeah. Like my routine is different than a lot of other people's, because I F off for the day. Like, I just leave. Like, I leave the venue, I leave the town. I actually put myself into a community type setting where we do other activities other than judo. Really? Like for the Olympics, I actually left the whole venue and I went and watched fencing.
Really?
Yeah, just...
You have that much time in between?
It's a couple hours.
Couple hours per...
Yeah.
Did you do any other activities during that time other than fencing? You just watch fencing?
Just watch fencing.
How was that in person? Is that crazy?
It's a little difficult to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I almost feel like they should have like a lightsaber type S so you could see it instead of like hear it, because it just looks like the hands waving.
Yeah.
But
do people get so is fencing wherever like they run or whenever like they're fighting with like
they like and then they sword fight and you get points.
How do you not like? How does the fence not go through there? Like
It's like
It's not that sharp.
it's a really thick leather though.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
like, it's
so
like
it's
a
not
heavy suit.
so they're not in danger.
No,
No,
Okay.
it doesn't like
And
hurt them
I
or
thought-
anything.
I think it goes to a point and they put like a little ball on the end of it. I think is
Okay.
what happens.
See, yeah, I didn't know any about fencing. I knew what it was, but it was like, I see these guys. I'm like, how are they not like bleeding or something from it?
This portion of the Burn Factory podcast is sponsored by Phoenix Salon Suites. Please visit Phoenix Salon Suites at PHENIX Salons SALON Suites SUITES.com to find one near you.
All right, but Travis, we got to go to you and Burn. You just took us to the beginning. All those injuries as a kid from literally almost losing your leg. But I actually want to share an unfortunate burn moment myself back whenever I was in 6th grade. It was a week before summer. I'll never forget it. I'm a competitive golfer. My dad bought me a new set of golf clubs. We actually just moved into this house right on the golf course. And June 13th, go to school thinking it was a normal day. Science class comes. And the teacher says she's going to do a science experiment in front of the class. So she gathers all of us up, takes us outside, and next thing you know, it's like a bomb literally went off right in my face. And it's pretty crazy because like you have this out-of-body experience where you're literally looking down at myself and I can see that I'm on fire, but I didn't know. And I just hear like, you know, like a swimming pool where you can hear kids like screaming and like kind of stuff like that. That's what it sounded like. And all I hear is like, he's on fire, he's on fire, he's on fire. And then like I come back to my like kind of what you said about concussion to like kind of my nonsense. And I'm in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. And they're actually talking about how they're going to fight for life for me because they're talking about how I had a 50% chance to survive in the ambulance because the swelling was so bad around my neck. And then, try not to get emotional about this, but the swelling around my neck was so bad. And take me to the hospital, and I'm in the bed. And around like a couple days, I've had 7 surgeries around my face. And with burns, they have to like scrape off the dead skin to get to the normal skin. And around a couple of days in the hospital, I had my dad go get my putter, and I actually put a couple balls into a glass jar. And I actually called that my burn moment, saying, you know what, I'm not going to let this affect me, and I'm going to push forward because I'm a champion. And that's how I got the idea of the burn moment. But I'm sure you've had many unfortunate burn moments yourself. So tell me about that.
Yeah, you know, I've had a few moments where, you know, you just mentally like call it quits. And I went through a time in my judo career where I've been labeled as at one point like the bad boy of judo because I did everything with a massive chip on my shoulder. And I actually felt like the entire world of judo was against me and did everything in their power to make sure I lost. That's how slighted I felt. And there's nothing worse than knowing that when you do all of this work and you put all this effort into it, that it's actually impossible to succeed. And when I was in Austria, I think it was Austria, I was sitting at a bar having a Diet Coke and I just quit. I was done. I was like, I can't take it anymore. I had just lost London. I had lost every other event. I couldn't figure out judo. I couldn't figure out how to win. And I mentally, when you prep for the games, you believe like from the deepest cell of your body that you're going to win. And when London was taken from me, because I didn't lose, even to this day, I don't felt like I lost. I felt like I was cheated. And you don't think you could ever come back from those moments, right? So when I'm sitting at the bar and I'm by myself, there's no one around, I'm like, this is it. I'm done. I quit. I actually typed up a massive like 3-page letter to USA Judo, the USOC, and I bagged it. I was like, I'm done. I had one of my worst years ever after 2012. I felt like I couldn't do anything. And it was really only like a 4-month like term from like August to like February when I bagged it. And if it wasn't for the people that had actually made sacrifices in their lives to make sure that I could be successful, then I would have just walked away. Because I just felt like there was nothing left that I could have done in the moment to actually get through the hurdle that I was getting through because of the mental struggle I was having with the entire ecosystem of the sport. And then sure enough, once I gave up on it, I actually threw the rule book out the window and actually had one of the best years I've ever had. Because I stopped myself from caring so much about the success and got back into the why I do what I do and why I love what I love. Because once I lost London, I felt like I had this chip I had to prove. And mentally, every time I didn't do it, it just chipped away at me and chipped away at me and chipped away at me until I felt like I had nothing. And I was actually, I didn't talk to anybody. I wouldn't even eat in front of people. I would take my food and I'd go right back to my room. At the 2012 Olympic Games, after I lost, I was too embarrassed to leave. I would go get McDonald's, I would come back to the room, and then I just sat there 24/7 by myself because I felt like everybody was looking at me and laughing at me for losing.
Well, even though that you didn't even really lose.
Nope.
You went to a golden score, and then they went to a judge's decision. And even the judge's decision was weird because in judo, they're all supposed to raise the flags at the same time.
Yep.
And the middle judge kind of raised it, and the other two kind of looked like, oh, blue. Like,
yeah. There was a bunch of stories and articles written about it.
Really?
But that whole time, like even after that, I got slighted every step of the way.
Really?
Yep. I even got suspended from the sport for a little bit.
Because of what you said?
Because of what I did. I threw a water bottle, at or in the direction of somebody I shouldn't have.
Was it a judge? Or like
it
ref?
was a very important person in the world of judo that controlled a lot of things.
Can you say who it is?
I can't.
Oh.
But it turned into like an international ordeal because that's how angry I was at the whole situation. Because I was angry enough to curse at a referee on a mat. I was angry enough to throw an object at another person. I was angry enough to cuss out that same person in the middle of an entire international venue, in the middle of the venue. So everyone heard it and everyone saw it. They suspended me from the tournament. They suspended me from judo. And then when I came back, I still got screwed. And then I was like, you know what? F it. We're done. I'm out. And then my coaches actually like brought me back into it. And I didn't actually have downtime as much as they gave me the leeway to compete without pressure. Because all they wanted me to do was compete. They never wanted me to win anymore. We flipped the script on what was really important, and it was more important that I competed. And I remember having the conversation with my coaches, and I was like, just so you know, the rule book's out the window. If I have to cheat to win, I'm cheating. I don't care if I get penalized. I don't care if I get thrown out because I was done anyways. And then sure enough, I won the next tournament.
What tournament was that?
Germany.
Yeah.
Didn't you beat Bischoff there too,
Yeah.
right? In his home country.
Yeah.
So what was that kind of like? Was that like just like...
That was actually one of my highest moments. And not because of him. It was what happened after the tournament.
What happened after?
So there's a Bundesliga that happens. It's one of the premier leagues in all of Europe. It's like a professional judo league. And there's a team that Jimmy used to fight for called TSV Abensburg. They're one of the best teams in all of Europe and the entire world as far as professional judo goes. And a lot of the best players in the world compete for this team. And Bischoff was one of them. And after I beat Bischoff, I won Germany, and the coach of the team came over and was like, we want you to fight for our team. And then I signed on for Bundesliga and fought for Abensburg for like the next 8 or 9 years.
Really?
Yeah. So I went from when I beat Bischoff, it was my first international gold medal where I beat the Olympics champion, I think he was at the time. Yeah, Olympic champ at the time.
Well, he won in 2008, right?
Yeah,
And then did he win in 2012 again?
silver.
Oh,
He
yeah,
lost
silver.
same
Okay.
Olympic final. The Korean and the German
Korean
both
beat him.
fought. Yeah.
Wow. That's kind of cool, though. I mean, for like us and the tragedy that happened to our family, in hindsight, it was such a blessing because we wouldn't have this podcast. We wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. And I really feel like it's those moments, those burn moments in your life that build you to who you are today. And in that moment of you were like, you know what, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. You actually fought better because you were just pressure's off. I don't even care if I lose, like, it's cool to see.
Yeah, changes the perspective on what you do and why you do it, and you get back into the reasons why you started instead of the reasons why everybody thinks you're doing it and that pressure that the outside community puts on you, and then you get true joy out of, what you do every day.
Yeah, I almost need to start taking that once again to my golf itself. I actually put in, what was it? The Farmers pre-qualifier, so it's actually a PGA tournament locally here in San Diego. And I actually told my mom on the first tee box, because it was my very first tournament kind of back. And I told my mom, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do this because like all my friends are saying I want to do it. I'm going to do this for me because I want to be out here and I just want to enjoy. And I actually played one of my best tournaments possible just because I was just loving what I wanted to do best. And same thing with you.
I tell all the young athletes now, the people who love you will love you whether you win or lose. So compete for you, because no matter what happens, the people who stand by your side will be there when you're done. So they're not going to change their opinion of you just because of what happens during the time of the competition. We're all going to come back. We're all going to be friends. We're going to win and lose together, and it's not going to play a part into the relationship around you. Because what happens is when people see a little bit of success, they start treating the people that are around them only being there because of the success. And that's not true. Win or lose, like, we're still there.
Did anyone turn on you?
No.
No one.
Not one person.
Wow.
That's cool. That's a shocker to see, because a lot of times in your darkest moments is when people, they want to leave. But whenever you take silver in the Olympics, like, oh yeah, I know you. Like,
same with one of your greatest moments, like people who turn away on you when you're just first starting, and then like they see you winning, then they're gonna want to try to come back, and it's just like, whoa, hold up, you blew me off early.
We had a very small circle from the beginning.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was a very tight-knit group and a tight-knit family, and it was even to the point where we felt like our small group of athletes and coaches, we competed against the world as a unit. So it was more about when we stepped on the field, one of us is walking away with a medal. And that's how we viewed it, because if our 57 girl didn't medal, we knew we were going to. We were going to pick up the slack. And then if I couldn't do it, then Kayla would do it. And we started competing as a unit and then just building off of each other each and every time. And it just made things easier and more enjoyable.
did it kind of take the pressure off too? Because everyone like had each other's back during those times.
Yeah. Because we actually supported and like we're actually happy for the other person. Most of the time when you get into these events, the actual people who you think are your friends are actually cursing behind your back because they actually want to outperform you. But for us, we wanted to collectively beat everybody else. Whether it was you or me, I wanted all of us to show all of them that we were better and we could do more with less. From less funding to less training partners to, less experience.
Still to this day, are all you guys close?
Yep.
That's so cool.
So you fast forwarding back to 2016, you're in the semifinals again for the second consecutive Olympics. So was it mentally challenging being like, okay, I lost the last semifinals, like let's not do it again? Or did you go in just like whatever happens?
I'll be so sure I was going to win. The coaches were looking for me and they found me with my butt in a chair, feet on a table, leaning back with my hands behind my head, watching judo in the chute ready to go fight the Olympic semifinal. That's where they found me. I was so sure of it. It didn't matter. And the guy that I was fighting, I was 0-5 against between 12 and Rio. He beat me all 5 times. I beat him in 12. He beat me 5 more times. Yeah, I was that confident that I was going to win.
Where'd it come from? Just mental, just
From that day in Tokyo, I knew I was going to win. Guaranteed.
wow.
And you beat him?
You beat
Yep.
him.
Talk about a burn moment.
On the exact minute we planned it.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah.
Huh.
I watched your whole video. You broke down the entire 2016 Olympics, and you said I was just gonna wear on him. It didn't matter if how I got him to the ground. I'm gonna get him to the ground, and then right at the 1 minute mark, I'm getting it done. And you pinned him. Oh no, you submitted it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you submitted him. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I need to get my judo terminology to high level. I'm sitting here trying to like, okay, yeah.
And looking back at it, I feel so bad for that guy because he was one of the best judo players in the world. No Olympic medal. Multiple time world champion. No Olympic medal.
Where was he from?
Georgia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Junior world medalist. Just at the Olympics, he ran into me both times.
Wow. I feel like you mentally beat him because you can see in the video he was so frustrated. He was like, "Dude, what is this guy doing?" Like, and then boom, submits him.
That playbook's important. The playbook is important.
Yeah,
Gotta have a playbook.
you gotta have a playbook.
Yeah.
Shoot, next time if I ever do judo, I'm gonna have a little playbook sheet in my pocket or in my back, like pocket.
Well, you guys keep playbooks for golf, right? Certain holes, certain courses,
yeah,
certain places.
Like it's kind of like a yardage book.
Yeah.
So like so each hole have like our numbers and like specific
From
spots.
playing the holes and
Yeah.
just the history of where you know to put it and like ranges.
It's almost like judo though. Like everyone in the judo circuit, you kind of always see each other again. And same thing for golf. Like you kind of are always playing the same courses. So every time you're taking little mental notes like, okay, I hit it over here. I can't do that this time, so you don't. So it's so cool to see how like so many sports are so similar with each other.
Certain players you want to beat inside the first minute. Certain players you don't even want to try to score on until the last 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, how is it? Is it hard to do like film on judo opponents because they're so like different from each other? And
It's difficult in the sense that when people break down film, they tend to break down athletes in a way that doesn't benefit them, but they think it does, right? So I'm a right-handed player, but I also have a very specific style that's to me. So if I watch the Georgian, for example, that I was prepping for, if I watch him fight other right-handed players, his actions and reactions are based on that player, not me. So it makes it difficult to actually break down videos where you know exactly how that player is going to react to me. I almost need information on him by getting my hands there and getting a feel so that I can conceptualize what the future is going to lead, and then it's a guessing game. And you use all your history and all your data to kind of guess. When we break down video, we reverse engineer it to look for consistencies in the players. So when I was competing against the Bulgarian in the quarters, I had never even done a round with him. Never touched his gi. All I've ever done is seen him compete and seen him in the room training. Never worked out with the guy. I knew I was going to beat him because when we watched his film and we watched him compete, he used a very specific throw, which is exactly how I win. And he does it when he gets tired and when he gets put into danger. So I could compete against him in a way where I don't have to take any risk. I could just try to push him to the point where he gets tired, and then he'll do this thing that'll allow me to win. And sure enough, 2 minutes in, he got a little winded, got a little nervous, and his just natural instinct kicks in. And then once that happens, he's done because now he's not thinking. You know, a lot of athletes, they really struggle with the mental side of things, and they don't practice the mental game during their training. They train as hard as they can physically to do the best they can physically, and they leave the mental out of it. When I was in Tokyo, one of the things I do is I pin everybody. And when athletes do a specific throw, I can pin them. It's like a 90% certainty if you do that on me, you're getting pinned. And it was so blatant that I could do it that when I was fighting the Russian in Tokyo, when I came back from that injury, the Russian coach goes, "Hey, you can do anything you want except for this move. if you do this move, you're going to lose. And he goes, okay, I got it. He kicks the shit out of me for like 4 minutes and 40 seconds. And then sure enough, 20 seconds to go in the match, he does what he's not supposed to do and gets pinned. Because he just
got him.
He got tired. He made a mental lapse because he's not focused and lost it. He just started pounding his fist in the mat and crying like a little kid. And then the coach was like, I told you. And he's like, yeah, I know.
I feel like in judo, you can't get too comfortable. You always need to be on your toes and always be with it.
Yep.
Because whenever you get into that little small thing, that's when you open up the door and you can flip him.
Did you guys work with mental coaches though at the OTC? Is that kind of how you got so mentally
Me, never.
focused? No?
I didn't do it until after 2012 because when I was hating the world, I was like, something's got to change. And then I found a sports psychologist that had a different look on mental training, mental preparation, mentally preparing yourself and your body to actually compete and win. Most people, when they envision themselves doing something successful, they envision the act, right? So before I used to see this sports psychologist, what I used to do is I used to know who my opponent is, and I used to visually in my head see myself throwing that person. And then I would picture it again and again and again and again. And when I would compete, I kept noticing that I would lose matches because I would get it put into my brain that I am beating you with this. And when I couldn't get it, I would just keep trying to get it because I've told myself, like, this is how I'm beating you. And I think I can do it. And I kind of get tunnel visioned into this way of winning. And I lost a lot of matches because of it. And when I explained that to her, that I get this like tunnel vision, what she told me was I need to remove the actual acts of what's happening, and I should focus more on the feeling that I get during certain stages, right? So you probably get this when you golf. There's a certain level of anxiety that happens when you step into the box. It's like a little bit, right? Just that little bit, right? There's a certain bit of anxiety when you pull into the parking lot and grab your clubs. A little bit, right? There's a feeling there. And there's, a little bit of anxiety when your backstroke starts to happen. There's a little bit of anxiety when you're walking to your ball after you've made that drive, right? There's that little bit. And she said, when you can focus on that feeling and the recreation on what that means, like, let's say you hit a bad shot. What does that feel like? And so when you ignore the surroundings and you think about the field of play as a blur, where it's not the object of the person, but the act that happens as being the important factor. So I would think like, okay, I'm 30 seconds in. What does that mean? Like, what do I feel like 30 seconds into a fight? Am I breathing heavy? Does my throat hurt? And when you start to do that, right, you start to get those like pins and needles. You can start to get goosebumps. You can start to get that anxiety running. And then you think like, okay, I've gotten a Shido. How does that make me feel? And then you start focusing on it, and your body neurologically falls into this place where like it's feeling all of these emotions and all of these stressors. And that's what your body needs to feel in order to perform. And it's not the first time you're feeling it. So I started training myself where I was focusing on the feeling and the emotion of it and the actual, like, how do my feet feel on the mat? Is it too slick? Is it too slippery? Is it sticky? How does that make me feel emotionally? When I look at the scoreboard, like, how does that make me feel? And then when I compete, these are all emotions that I've felt so many times. It's just second nature to me. I'm not overly worried. I'm not overly confident. I'm not confident enough, and I'm not too concerned or not concerned enough. I'm kind of in this middle tone of like, this is just everyday life for me now.
Is that something you kind of practice in the practice room?
Yep. All the time.
So did you even get nervous right when you got on the mat?
Nope.
Nothing.
Not even the slightest.
Because you've been there before.
Been there. I fought the Olympics so many times from an emotional standpoint and a physical standpoint where like I would actually get myself tired just thinking about it. Even when I'm driving a car, like I would just like zone out and I could just get my hairs to like stand up in like the emotion of winning. That it just became second nature.
So then whenever you get like into those zones and you start to feel that again, how do you like get almost rid of it? Because you say you weren't even nervous.
But
so like,
you want it. That's the key is like it becomes a state of comfort now. So instead of nervous energy, it just becomes energy, right? Like the number one killer for athletes is anxiety. So you don't want to not feel anxiety. What you don't want to do is have a massive sense of it and then an adrenaline dump, right? That happened to me in the 2000, I think it was the 14 World Championships. I was like, we thought I was going to win it. We were like, I've never performed well at the Worlds. I've lost every time in like the first round, from like the crappiest of draws to the crappiest of trainings and preparations. But this one, I was uninjured. I'm ready to win. I'm going. I'm excited. I have the best draw I could possibly ask for at the World Championships. I show up, first round, I'm like, I'm going. I'm like pumped up. I'm ready to go. And then 10 minutes goes by. Those guys are still competing. I'm ready to go. I'm bouncing up and down. I'm ready to go. My heart rate is raised because it can't be too low. I'm ready to go. 20 minutes goes by. I'm still in the chute. Match ends. I got one more match to go. That match goes another 20 minutes. I spent 45 minutes at like my RPMs of my heart rate at like 160 trying to keep myself ready to go because I don't want to go from 0 to 100. And when I spend 40 minutes like basically like in a slight jog, I was tired.
Yeah.
I was mentally shot. And then I ended up losing in golden score like 4 minutes in.
That's brutal.
It was just like bad things happen when you're not like prepped to have the confidence to go, how long does it actually take you to get ready to, like for you, do you know how long it takes you to go from out of the zone to in the zone to take a shot? For us, that's important. Like I know now I could dial it down to the T of like when certain steps need to happen in order to compete when I step on the mat the best I can. So I can go from like lounging in the back having a conversation with friends to ripping somebody's head off in a matter of minutes because I know those stages I got to go through without overly committing in one of those stages where I get too tired.
You're almost like 5 steps ahead.
Yeah.
In some sort
Playing
of
chess.
Yeah.
Literally playing chess. But Travis, we got to keep this show going. It's time to go to R and Burn. Ridiculous. I mean, there has to be some crazy fan that asks for like something ridiculous to you, or just even like traveling overseas and stuff. There has to be a ridiculous moment that happens. So
Craziest thing that ever happened, right, was I bronzed at the German Grand Prix, I think it was, and I'm walking off the mat and kids are asking for autographs. Typically normal, right? And I'm trying to sign as many as I can, but there's like kids everywhere and I'm signing and I'm doing stuff. And out of nowhere, out of the top of my eyes, I see a baby like crowd surfing. A mother had passed like a 4-month-old baby all the way down from like the top row. Boom, down like 50, 60 people must have touched this baby and let the baby slide all the way down into my arms. And then I'm holding this baby and I can see the mother like trying to part the, like all these people, like Moses in the sea, right? She's trying to run down here to get her baby. And then I'm holding this baby for like 3 minutes. All these kids
Oh my God,
looking.
that's a long time.
She had to get through the crowd from the top row. And then by the time she got down there, she took a picture with me and then I left with the baby.
oh,
that's so weird.
my
Yeah, it was the craziest
gosh.
thing.
If I saw that, I'd be like, what's going on?
And yeah, so I'm signing
Literally.
autographs looking at this baby like, no way that's coming down here, right? Because I can see the mother like, yeah. She's like looking at the people in the crowd like, yeah. Trying to push the baby down the crowd.
I don't know. Why couldn't she just carry the baby down?
I think she thought I was going to leave before she got down. So
she
she
wanted to
felt
get
like if she
you.
could get the baby there and I got the baby, now I have to stay. And then she got her way down there.
Did you sign autographs while holding on the baby
No,
still?
I just held the baby and I was like, I don't know what to do.
Oh my gosh, that's
yeah.
crazy. I actually have a kind of a ridiculous moment myself in terms of judo. So we were at the OTC. Yeah, we were at the OTC and I was like 3 or 4 years old, and Coach Ed would sit here and like we would all like at the end of practice be in like this long line, and he would like call people up there, get their belts and like tie them, but I never knew how to tie the belt. So I'd always be on my knees sitting here trying to like hide behind the people so he doesn't see me to come and tie my white belt that I never pass. And thank gosh he never called me up. That was just a ridiculous moment I had.
Yeah, they weren't easy to tie though. I'll give you
I didn't even know how to tie
they're
them.
so long. And
It's so confusing.
yeah, I probably couldn't even tie one now. I have no idea how to.
I figure it's like back and then like
I run a school, and it's the funniest thing to watch people like they look at it and they're like trying to figure it out. It's like 5 times longer than it needs to be, and they're like, I don't really know what to do. And they're looking at everybody else's like, why is theirs so short and mine's so long? They can't figure it out.
Yeah,
It's the funniest thing.
it was hard. I kind of had something like that, but I couldn't do a cartwheel. So part of the warm-ups, you'd have to do a cartwheel to kind of learn how to, like, if you're thrown midair.
Yep.
And I could never do it. And my dad, we would literally be in the basement, like, trying to practice cartwheels, and I could never get it for the longest of times.
And you know what? People who can do cartwheels, they look at it like, why can't people figure out how to do cartwheels? But you know what? A majority of people can't do it.
No.
It's the craziest thing.
Like, to, like, transfer your weight, like, in air, it's so weird. I just never could get it. And I don't know what happened, but it kind of just switched, and I kind of got it. But that was kind of the time that I started getting into, like, football and basketball. So I kind of started moving away from judo. But for the longest of time, and I was good. Like, I don't think I lost a match for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Like I got third at nationals, and I was winning all these tournaments. I was going to Dallas and winning, but like I couldn't do a freaking cartwheel.
Yeah.
Phoenix just football tackled him to
Seriously,
win.
that was back when you could touch the legs.
Oh, yeah.
Literally, just football tackle him.
Yep.
Mine was the good old fireman.
Yep.
That was my throw every single time.
What's that?
In the drop set, yeah.
What's that? What's
It's
a
like
fighter?
you like kind of like grab like through their legs, and then like you roll
Yeah,
over.
you throw them over your shoulders.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Might have to try that. I need to
Don't hurt
stretch out
yourself.
before that, but
All right, yeah, that is definitely ridiculous. I couldn't imagine like holding someone's kid, and it's like so brand new. Like, ugh,
imagine if someone in the crowd dropped it.
Yeah.
but-
That would have
that's
been
scary.
tough. Oh my, I can't even imagine that.
But we're moving on to our last letter, N. N is kind of like 2 parts, so it's like now and next. So what are some burn moments you're going through now? You alluded, you have a school now. So what are some burn moments you're trying to get through right now?
Right now, the biggest thing on my docket is Jimmy Pedro and I started a new company. It's called American Judo. The whole premise behind the company is trying to get everybody unified under a system of judo inside the United States, right? When you look at different sports in different countries, typically you can label them by a style, right? So in judo, if you look at a player not knowing where they're from, you can decide like that's a Japanese player, that's a Korean player, that's a Russian player, because they do judo in a certain way. They just have different characteristics, different techniques that they use because they have certain resources in their country that allow them to develop certain areas of the sport better than other places. And the system that we used is the same system that Rhonda used, Marty Malloy used, Kayla used, I used, Jimmy used. So in modern judo from 2000 till present, the medals that were won in this country were won under this system. So we've built a platform that we're trying to integrate into, a country that can get together and start teaching the system so that we can become a powerhouse in the world of judo. But it's a little bit of an uphill battle.
Yeah.
There's a lot of egos involved, a lot of like politicking involved, and a lot of headaches.
So like USA in general, is every person kind of has a little bit of different style?
Yeah.
Is that how it is?
And the problem with us in our country is we're a melting pot of just cultures and races and ideologies, right? And you get people who are very good in particular styles, right? So if you go to LA, the guy that used to coach at one of the top universities in Korea coaches in LA now, right? If you go to Seattle, the guy that took bronze at the Olympics from Mongolia runs a school in Seattle. Then if you go to like New York, there's a lot of Georgian players from over there that actually fought on their team that now live there. But when you throw them all into a national championships, they're actually really bad players at their style, but they compete against each other at a really young age. So it makes it really hard to develop a specific system to really get a kid really good at it. If we take the kid from LA and you were to throw him into like a Korean style back in Korea, he would never win because he's fighting other people fighting that style where all they fight is that style. And they're going to lose because they're not getting enough of the interactions in the same way to really improve the skill set. So for us, it's really difficult to get players to a really high level because they compete against people who are really bad at individual styles. It's kind of hard to conceptualize, but it's a way of like American soccer versus English soccer versus Brazilian soccer where they play the game a little differently in a different style.
I
So
see.
do you just start kind of like in one area and then you gravitate to like certain parts of the country maybe, like with you and what you and Jimmy are doing?
No, we did a nationwide program. So we signed a contract with USA Judo so that every member of USA Judo gains access to our online platform so they can learn right at home and follow our system from the very beginning where they don't even need a partner all the way up to Olympic level style techniques.
Wow.
Yeah.
What year did you start? What year did you start this?
Last year.
Last year. Oh, so
It's
this
brand
is
new.
like brand new.
Yeah, brand new.
Wow. Congrats on starting this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you guys getting some kind of traction with it?
Slowly.
Slowly.
We just started an entire event series. So now we do, I think it's 32 events nationwide. And then we have the online platform. And now we're getting into coaching certification and referee certification where people can sign up and they can learn different levels of techniques so that they can become experts in these little fields to help pass on to younger generations.
I see. So say someone who's doing it online, how many like weeks do you think it'll take before they can actually go into the gym and start rolling around with some people?
Hours.
Hours. Huh. That's crazy.
Hours.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you got to think about it. I mean, there's so many techniques and different throws of judo. It's not like you can just kind of just walk in and start doing it.
But you can. That's the difference. People label, it would be like, at the end of the day, I could play golf with a 7-iron if I really wanted to. Am I going to be really good at it? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I can't play. Everybody in judo right now treats it like you have to master every club, then go play. Where we take the idea of like, how about you learn one thing and then play with that club to the best of your ability, and then we'll add more clubs as you get comfortable with the sport. And the more you go through it, the more comfortable you get, the easier it is to learn the other clubs.
This reminds me of snowboarding.
It's so random.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
that
just
threw me
brought
for a
up-
loop.
No.
He just brought up snowboarding.
I want to
Yeah,
see the
What?
connection now.
yeah. So
waiting for
I
that.
mean, we actually went to Breckenridge for, well, my very first time of being in Colorado. I never snowboard, and kind of what you were saying, like a few hours and stuff. I didn't even know how to stand on my board, and the next thing you know, I'm going down blues within like 6 hours, and that really reminded me of judo. And you talking about how people can just learn, and then like kind of what he was doing, he would give us a technique, and then we would learn from it. But as we got better, the more techniques he started giving to us and made us better. So that's kind of how I got that connection right there for a sec, if that kind of
I
makes
feel
sense.
like that's a lot quicker though. Like these techniques in judo, you're talking about weeks that you've been trying to.
I can do it in hours. I can take a
Really?
white belt that's never done a throw and make it look cleaner than a black belt with 30 years of experience.
Wow.
Because they
That's a
follow
shocker
certain
to me.
steps. And it's easier to teach the white belt because he's only doing what you asked. The black belt is doing what he saw on YouTube a decade ago. He's doing what he saw the other guy do. He's doing what he saw in the other video from the last competition. And he's trying to like,
Juggle all of them.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then kind of mesh it together.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it does make sense when you break it down like that. But there's one thing I do got to ask is, did you ever think about transferring over to MMA, kind of like when you're career? I mean, you see Kayla, she's doing MMA now. You look at Ronda Rousey. Did it ever cross your mind?
Not even.
Really?
There was no money in MMA.
I guess, yeah. At
$0.
that time, there was, yeah.
It's a bad financial decision to do MMA because for me, right, I had a passion from the time I came back from my first leg injury. I made a decision. I'm winning the Olympics. I was doing that. There was no like, I'm going to win the Olympics and make $100 million. It was like, I'm winning the Olympics. That's all that mattered. So it wasn't about the money. But once that goal was done, you have to make money to survive, right? I didn't have like some young dream of like, I'm going to win the UFC, whatever it takes. That wasn't in me. So if it's not going to be a business, it doesn't make sense to start a whole new journey to do something that like I didn't have in me to do. Would I be really good at it? Absolutely. But the financial side of it's just not there. It is for Kayla and it is for Rhonda, because on the female side of it, we're taking real athletes that are like physically trained for combat for 20 years in a professional setting against just athletes that aren't combat focused, that are trying to learn combat, right? So they have a leg up against every bit of their competition. But for men going up against pro kickboxers, pro boxers, D1 wrestlers, it's a different beast altogether. And the financial side on the men is equal or comparable to women, especially in Kayla's league.
Yeah.
Right? And when we look at the UFC, there's just the financial side of it for me is the top 1%, but you've got to do stuff to get to the top 1%. And it's like, do I really think I could get there? It's a dice roll for me because of my age and the history with my body. Just like, what do we do?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to risk 4 years of a maybe in my life to like potentially make maybe $100,000 if I'm lucky.
Yeah. And I guess you're right. At that time, like the UFC was really, I mean, nothing. People aren't making $10 million a fight. Like you're making 10 and 10 maybe.
Yeah, because
I got to pay all your coaches and then all that stuff.
And travel and
that's on a maybe, right? Because even GSP, like if the guy he's supposed to fight pulls out, like you don't get paid. You spent all that money on your camp, your nutrition, your coaches, everything. Yeah, it's definitely a gambler's game. You have to have that drive in you to want to do that and live that lifestyle. I don't like that lifestyle.
Especially being beaten in the head every single day of the week.
Yeah, that's the other thing is like judo, you're not like, yes, you hit your head, but that's not the goal, right?
Yeah.
In MMA, like that's the goal. It's a little different.
I don't think I could ever do it, honestly.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It's fun to train. Like, you know, like go hit mitts, go spar a little bit, grapple a little bit, nice and light. And we're all friends after. It's different than when your teeth are in your mouth guard.
Yeah, and you're locked in a steel cage with a man who's trying to literally kill you.
Yeah.
Or even like snapping your shin, trying to throw a leg kick and checking Ronan and just completely kind of like Chris Weidman.
It's just so many things go wrong, and it's just benefit doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like why waste my time? But Travis, you did just spell burn in your life. Where can the audience find you on Instagram or?
Instagram is the best place, at Judo Silencer.
And then what about the new thing that you and Jimmy are doing?
AmericanJudo.com.
AmericanJudo.com. Go visit it. Show him some love there.
Well, Travis, as a gift for coming on the podcast, we do have a Black Label edition hoodie. Only guests can get these, and hat.
Hoodie and hats.
Awesome.
So that is for you. Wear it loud, wear it proud. Maybe in your next seminar you could throw the hoodie on.
Will do.
Someone might try to grab it and just rip it completely off. But like always, please visit my foundation as well, priestjamesfoundation.org. Again, priestjamesfoundation.org. To understand why we call this the Burn Factory. We'll see you guys for the next episode.
Peace.
All right, guys. Travis Stevens just spelled burn in his life. He is now the Burn Factory champion.
Yes, sir.
You gotta raise your hand now.
My shoulder.
But as a champion, you have to call out someone. Who are you calling out to come on the Burn Factory podcast?
Kayla Harrison.
Kayla Harrison.
I need to.
I'm here. You're here.
Yes, sir. Kayla Harrison, come on the Burn Factory. Spell burn in your life.